WordPress Maker's desktop server. They make local WordPress development easy. Go check them out over at serverpress.com. And they also do another thing called WP Site Sync. It works with a whole bunch of different things, including WooCommerce and Beaver Builder. So feel free to go take a look at that as well. All the information can be found over at serverpress.com.
Oh, I was going to eat it.
And one thing I love about ServerPress is I went to their website, scroll down to the very bottom at their footer, and there's a photo of WPwatercooler at the bottom of it, which is pretty cool. I love that advertiser who wants to make sure those link backs happen. Say again, Steve?
What was?
I said round trip.
Yeah, round trip, exactly.
What is with your speaker? All right.
Well, let's go around the room real quick, get everyone introduced. Let's go with Cosper. How about that? Cosper, tell us about yourself.
Hey, everybody. Y'all know who it is. Your boy, Jason Cosper, a.k.a. Mullenweg, here to talk some WordPress, talk some misconceptions, deal with it.
Wow. You're good at that.
Cosper's making us all look bad.
For those listening on audio only, he's doing some serious tricks with the snap cam.
He sure is. Say, how about you? Tell us about yourself, Say.
All I've got is a filter that we're all happy with. My name is Say Reed. I am a small business advocate, and today I'm feeling that a lot. But I make WordPress, preach WordPress, teach WordPress at Say Reed Media on all the things. Let's talk on the Twitter because there's not enough dialogue on there.
Woohoo!
Come talk to me.
Steve, how about you? Tell us about yourself.
I am Steve Zengit. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup.
Is that still a thing?
It is.
It is. We're meeting online.
Now on Zoom. Is it on Zoom? Okay.
It's on Zoom.
Yes, it is on Zoom.
Now let's hear from our long-haired hippie host.
I know, right? It's getting crazy. Dude, I go change my hairstyle from being spiky to like not being spiky, and now it's like it's going nuts. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. My website is jasontucker.blog. I do this show as well as another show called WP Blab. And today we talked about landing pages. So if you want to learn about landing pages and how they all work and all that fun stuff, go take a look at that. If you want to go check out a landing. Yeah. And if you want to check out a landing page, you can go to wpwatercooler.com/subscribe, where you can learn how to subscribe to this content and all the stuff that we got going on over there.
Is that a dedicated landing page?
It is a dedicated landing page.
Love it. In action.
So let's talk about WordPress misconceptions. I know there's a ton of them. And so I thought it might be a good idea for us to kind of go through the ones that people are going to be Googling, where they're going to go like, is WordPress better than Wix?
Yes.
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 Why is WordPress better than Wix?
It's a misconception.
Everyone knows that, right? There's not a lot. Wix, people think that Wix is easier because they can just get up online in 2 seconds and whatever. But the main misconception there is that a plug it all in template is going to make your life easier in the long run. It is if you're making a brochure.
I think you have to define better, right? In terms of what context.
Yeah, if you're making a short-term one-page thing for one, maybe it is fine.
Yeah, if you need a quick brochure site, Wix is fine for you.
That does nothing. That just
correct.
Is there. Yeah,
correct.
Exactly. That has a link out to something else. I do consistently the most consistent conversions I get are Wix to WordPress. Still, to this day.
Really?
Now,
wow.
what does that look like? Say, how easy is it to export content from Wix into WordPress?
That's a cut and paste job. Still to this day, we're cutting and we're pasting. Have they introduced a new exporter yet? I don't think so. I'll check.
God, I would not want to have to export from Wix.
So they lock you into their platform.
No, it literally says in their support. Specifically, it is not possible to export or embed files created using the Wix editor to another external destination or host. So you ain't going nowhere.
Yep, that's lock-in, baby.
Oh, yeah, I love that lock-in. Hey, wait, that's very topical. because we're all locked in. Get it?
Got it.
Everyone's like,
Got it.
crickets. Okay, there goes our evergreen content.
So what about Squarespace? So this is probably one of the only podcasts that isn't sponsored by Squarespace. I even tried, and it just didn't happen. But why is WordPress better than Squarespace?
How about
you got to define better?
Yeah, how about we start
More
with
betterist? The more betterist.
That Squarespace is the only website builder that exists, because if you listen to podcasts, that is basically what you think at this point. It is on literally everything. So I think the common misconception is that Squarespace is everything. I think that most
and they have Super Bowl ads, so it's automatically better.
Yeah, I want to talk about misconceptions about Squarespace, like that their designs are better. Their designs are not better. They're boring. You get like a couple of them, and that's it. Like
It'd be like if you were to sign up for a web host and you only used one of the basic. I think you were the one that posted about this recently. Say about how like a web host had a whole bunch of whole bunch of like basic standard installed themes, and that you just had like 5 gazillion of them in there.
That's not the greatest example of when WordPress is being used well. DreamHost. But
True.
That's their deluxe install. Maybe a misconception about WordPress is the deluxe is better, because honestly, the out of the box stripped down WordPress works real good and is real nice. And adding plugins as you go is the way to do it, not starting off with 20 plugins that all need to be updated and are really terrible. So that's a different set of misconceptions. Also, the misconception there is that all builder themes and all builder plugins are created equal, because they ain't. They're not all the same, and not all of them are good. That is not a Squarespace related thing. That's about.
So my favorite one to talk about is the 5-minute install. Does that still exist?
Now it's like
it never did. It never existed.
It's true. It is if you like had your FTP hooked up already and you knew what you were doing.
And that's why it never existed, because before there was managed WordPress hosting, right? Before you could just buy the hosting and it was already set up for you, you had to figure out how to get the files. Well, first of all, you had to set up a server, right? Then you had to get the files to the server and make sure that all that worked. And then once all that stuff was done, clicking the button was actually, I argue, was less than 5 minutes, right? So it's actually even 5 minutes wasn't an accurate estimate of time to just click the button and fill out the form.
The quick install from the cPanels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
quick install from the cPanels. DreamHost, who got derided for their deluxe installs, has had a one-click installer for like 15 years. They were one of the first hosts to offer it, which was. I mean, got to give respect where respect is due.
I love and sign up all my clients there. So honestly, right. I'm not trying to throw shade. I just don't click that deluxe button.
No, absolutely not.
Do not click that button.
No.
Sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to say, but they're doing it right.
Yeah, those things are like those kind of obliterated the 5-minute install. The second that it turned into a thing that a hobbyist could do in 5 minutes and turned into something that you could just one-click your way into, whether that's through managed, whether that's through a cPanel or just a panel installer, then 5-minute install has kind of, it's just marketing at this point.
I think a common misconception is that you still have to install WordPress anywhere, or that you have to download anything. I know in the some of the, I don't know which meta make WordPress group it was in, but some of the conversation that was happening is getting rid of the download button on WordPress.org, because ain't nobody downloading anything anymore to do that, right? Like, you don't have to do that. So a common misconception is that you have to set anything up, because you really do not. You just really should get a managed host, which we've all talked about here a million times. And this is obviously super noob stuff. So for new people.
How about this?
Well, okay. To go back to still have to install WordPress. I worry about hearing that they wanted to get rid of the download button, only because if I go to a project that is supposed to be open source and I cannot download the source and look at it, I'm like, okay, why the hell am I going to trust this project to do what I need it to do?
Well, it wasn't getting rid of the download button as so much as like, because it's still there, just as the main call to action, that was a scary word, as opposed to what is now changed to, which is get WordPress, as opposed to download, a download button, which people would download and then be like, now what? So now that page goes to a landing page that tells you how to get WordPress, in addition to being a giant download button that you can still download. So
okay, that's cool.
At this point, won't speak to the future, but at this point, still holding that open source project.
It's not being rejected to WordPress.com just yet.
Yeah, no,
right.
Yet.
So what about this one? WordPress gets hacked all the time.
Oh my God, I deal with this every single time I bid on something. Every single time.
Yeah. Does your email?
Go ahead, Cosper. You go first. I'll go second on this one, Cosper. Go ahead.
No. I was going to say, to be fair, WordPress does get hacked. It's not. I mean, it has 36% of the internet is running on it. I believe that's the number. So just over a third of the internet runs on it. You have a target that big. That's like saying Internet Explorer, which, rest in peace, gets hacked all the time. Internet Explorer got hacked all the time because it was the biggest target. However, if a WordPress site is set up correctly, it can be bulletproof or damn near bulletproof.
Now I want to sing that song.
Here's how I address that issue, right? Every platform that's open source is hackable because the source code is out there, right? And so you can say this about WordPress, but you can say this about every other single open source platform or even closed source platforms, right? And so every platform is hackable. Right?
Turns out anything on the internet, anything connected to the internet,
totally
hackable. Your smart refrigerator, hackable.
But
your Nest, hackable.
Where I think this reputation came from is, I absolutely agree with everything Cosper said, but it's also people that didn't keep their code up to date, right? And so if you don't keep your code up to date, if you let if you don't run those core updates, if you don't keep your plugins up to date, those things are important, right? Those security patches are important for this reason. And if you don't keep it up to date, then yes, it's hackable, and that frankly, that's on you.
So's your phone. So's your computer. So's your car.
Everything
is hackable with old software.
If you think about it, what's the direction that the WordPress project is going in? We already have core updates for security patches back to 3.7 still when a security release happens. So all of those old installs, hopefully they kind of narrow that gap a little bit and force people up onto something more modern, since we're already at 5.4. But what's coming in 5.5? The automatic plugin updates. Eventually we'll have automatic theme updates as well. So these are things that basically we're taking those security problems that we're seeing in the community, and we're saying, okay, it's not a problem anymore. We're trying to make sure, and I know that there are some people out there who are concerned about, oh man, something might break if something automatically updates. Okay. If you have the worry about that, you're not who these automatic security updates are for.
Yeah. On to the next one. WordPress themes or plugins are expensive.
Oh my God.
Is that a misconception? I feel like
I am literally typing into Google, why does WordPress? And these are all the ones that are coming up.
Oh,
Tell me the most you've ever paid for a premium plugin or a premium theme, right? Even a lifetime account for Gravity Forms is what, $300?
The events calendar, if you buy all of the plugins for Pro and community updates and everything, that can get a little pricey. But you're also, if you need all of those things, you're building out something that has a ton of features. So
premium themes are typically sub $100, right? Most premium plugins are less than $100. Most of them are around $50, right? There's a couple of things to think about here is, first of all, think about the time it takes you to create a theme. Right? What's your time worth? Right? If a theme, let's say a theme costs $300 and you bill $100 an hour, is it going to take you more than 3 hours to build that theme? Probably yes. And so that's not expensive in my mind. These are not only these things inexpensive, but they're major time savers. But also compare this to any other software. Go buy an Adobe license, and then see if WordPress stuff is expensive. I'm off my soapbox.
The way that I frame this with people, and I work in WooCommerce primarily nowadays, is how much money do you plan on making off of your site?
Yes.
And then there is a correlating version. So if you're only going to make a little bit of money, you can use a much lighter, less expensive plugin. Like you don't have to have a full WooCommerce install if you're only going to sell a couple things.
Absolutely.
So you can, but if you're going to do a full thing and you need the taxes to stay updated and a lot of shipping options and all this stuff, it means you're probably going to sell a lot of stuff, or you're at least trying to. So
let's say you buy 5 WooCommerce add-ons, right? And that's $500. I'm just arguing because they're about $99 a piece, right? Yeah. If you're setting up a business where you're going to be selling stuff and you can't invest $500
a year,
then that business is not worth it.
A year.
Fine. Fine. A year.
No. Fine. Thing. It's $500 a year. It's not like it's a $500 a month subscription or something.
Totally get it. But go compare that to Shopify. And then come back and tell me if WordPress is expensive.
How is it that Shopify has, people think that Shopify is not expensive? Is it because their base version for 10 items or whatever?
Even their base version is frightfully expensive. But once you start adding on, not only the add-ons cost you money, but some of them take a percentage of your sales.
I know
it doesn't happen in the WooCommerce world.
That is brutal, actually. I think that people are totally fine with that because they're like, oh yeah, well, whatever. But that is the commission model of software.
Yes.
I actually had so someone I'm working with had another person who she was talking to about doing her website, and he offered to build the website. He's like, I won't even charge you for it. I just want a cut of your sales. And I was like, what? What planet is this person on?
If anybody watches Shark Tank, right, as much as I watch Shark Tank, it's the reason you don't take a deal from Mr. Wonderful. Every deal he does is a royalty deal. You don't take that deal.
But it's only a quarter. It's only a quarter.
No.
Smart though. You got that passive income.
On to the next one.
Oh, I wanted to talk about that some more, but that's all right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just trying to blow through a bunch of these because it's fun.
No, I was just wanted to rant. I wanted to rant about taking commission and that people think that.
Let's say rant.
It's fine.
Go.
It's not a theoretical thing. Shopify really does that. And you think about Mr. Wonderful and that's someone will take a commission. This is a real person with that I am really working with, that I actually know, who another real person offered to build this on a commission basis. And I is that something that's happening? Are people doing that? I other than Shopify.
Yes.
I'm like, what are you doing?
If I went to any of my clients and said, hey, listen, we're going to build this for you, but we're going to take a percentage of your sales, they would laugh at me.
I know, it's insane.
If the register at the store, the POS machine, actually said, "Oh, by the way, and 3% of it is going to the register company." Are you kidding me?
How do you even calculate out that? Does that mean you're sharing your they're monitoring your sales from the back end in order to take that number, right? Because how is it self-reported? You're like, oh, I made $10 this month, or are they looking at your sales and taking that amount? That means they're managing all of that.
Going back to Shark Tank, if you wanted to be on Shark Tank, they changed this, but Shark Tank used to be they'd take 1% of the cut. They became an instant investor of 1%. They would get their money from it. So yeah, interesting.
I didn't know
See that. Yeah,
I've
they
never
changed
watched
that. They changed that because Mark Cuban was super pissed about that because it was like,
the
why are we doing this?
to watching Shark Tank is seeing Frankie and Grace go on Shark Tank on the show.
I saw that.
That's the closest I've been to seeing Shark Tank, but I know how it works. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So why does WordPress look different from the demo?
Because
Fuck the demo. Excuse my language. I can talk about that.
We're talking about. Not every
theme, and now they're trying.
Not every theme company is created equally, right? And most of them, they just ship you the theme, and they don't ship you the content, or they ship you the theme and they ship you the content separately, and you have to marry them. But that's why you're installing the theme, and it's got no content or any settings in it. So when you're installing it, it's bare bones.
It's like, why don't my clothes look the same when they're folded on the bed as they do when they're on my body? That's weird to me.
Never mind.
It's true, right? That's what I'm saying. There's nothing. There's no content there. There's only the potential for the clothes to be on your body. It's not the same thing without stuff in it.
That's true.
Unless you put it on a dummy, like dummy content, then you could kind of get. That's why there are mannequins at clothing stores, because the clothes look different on with something in it.
Why don't the clothes look as good on me as they do on the mannequin?
Well, that's the same question as why doesn't my website look as good as the demo website? Same question.
I will give it to 2020. I'm not sure how much time any of y'all have spent playing with it, but so a default install of 2020, at least on the past handful of sites that I've worked with it on, has this kind of like fake museum sort of brochure-y site that gets kind of like popped into place for you. And it's sort of a like replace this with your content sort of thing. It's a little bit easier to deal with. It's a little bit more user friendly, and I appreciate that. I wish more themes would do it. But the majority of them don't, and it just sucks.
Well, I think it's because they're trying to be so many things to all the people who might possibly build the theme. And if you show people an example of something, sometimes it's hard for, like, you show people an example with the museum and they're like, oh, this is for a museum. This is not for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they can't necessarily like mentally replace their content into that. So, but unless you show them a museum version and a restaurant version and a retail version, they're not necessarily going to be able to envision what that site looks like. And I think that is actually a lot of the reasons there aren't demos that come with that, is because people would be like, oh, that's not for me. That's why it's still weird when you look for themes in the repo or whatever, or around in general, and they're like, this is a theme for this type of business. And I'm like, what? Doesn't even mean anything. Like, that's like saying, like, here's a house for this type of person. Like, it doesn't, what you put in the house and how you decorate the house, that's what makes it specific to that type of thing, not the wall.
What?
Yep.
All right, I got the next one here. Why does my WordPress site have ads?
This actually makes me angry.
Why would your WordPress site have ads?
WordPress.com's free version, second to free version, I think, still has ads. They're not doing anybody a favor. I suppose they're basically supplementing their income on those free sites with advertising. So it does have really ugly ads, though. They're like toenail ads and stuff. It's not good.
Like actual like toenail fungus ads?
Yeah, like those kind.
Yeah.
And those are the same ones you can install through Jetpack too. So if you want those on your own website, you can also turn those on too. So.
Yay!
Yeah. That's I do honestly, I love me some WordPress.com. I think it can actually be a really good tool for a lot of people. But I want people to be able to onboard through the free version. But those ads, like if there were better ads, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But like, they're not good ads. It's not good.
I was going to say also almost about a year ago, there were some performance around third-party file hosts, and the WordPress ad service was one of the worst as far as content served from the .com stuff, like your Jetpack, like your Photon hosting for media files and stuff like that was fine. It was kind of middle of the road, but Word ads sucked. I think they made some improvements around that, but still, like, just don't try to have a better business model.
It's like not a high priority.
Yeah, try to have a better business model than showing toenail ads to your visitors.
Yeah, I think the thing about the WordPress.com is you can start there, but you have to upgrade. And, the idea that you can have, I mean, it's beautiful, the idea that you can have a free website on the internet, but like if you're doing anything that is, related to business, you have to at least get the next level up. You have to at least get the baseline cheapy level.
You get what you pay for.
If you want to scale at all, if it's not just like, even if it's a hobby site and you want to be known in that hobby world, it's not great to have that happening. So there should only be ads on your WordPress until you're ready to launch, and then you got to upgrade.
So on to the next one. Why does my WordPress site look bad on mobile?
That's your own fault.
It's because you're using a theme that's not responsive. You need a newer theme.
Do those even exist anymore? Not really. Like, I don't know how old does a theme have to be to not be built responsive? Like, what was that, like 10 years ago?
Pretty damn old.
Like, when did responsive design come in? Long time ago.
Or you're using a plugin that forces people to that weird early iOS mobile view that a lot of sites, or you're using AMP, and a lot of AMP sites look fucking ugly.
Sure do.
Wow.
You're not wrong.
Is that a technical term? Fugly?
Yeah.
They look fugly?
Ugly. Yeah.
I don't know that Google has ever really been super concerned with design as much as everyone else has been. They're really like, text is fine for you. You're good. So I think that's why, it's lightweight, right? It'll serve up fast. So it has that.
Speaking of which, why does my WordPress site load slowly?
Because you're not optimizing your images. Duh.
And you're not caching.
Ask me another one. That one.
And you're on a slow host. I mean, there's so many answers to that question.
I could spend half an hour on this.
Yes.
One.
This is a topic all by
itself. Half
itself.
an hour on it? I have a half an hour. Every week we do a half an hour.
I think we spent a couple of those half an hours on this very question. But like,
right?
In terms of like that WordPress loads slowly, that is definite misconception, because that has nothing to do with the software whatsoever.
And this could be true of any content management system, right? And there's two parts to this, or two main parts. There's the server, but there's also the client, right? So if you've just got too much stuff, if you've loaded your site up with plugins and third-party scripts, you're going to have a slow website on any platform.
And also, I mean, if you look at it, just cheap web hosts, there's like a dime a dozen web hosts. People think, I've talked to multiple people who are like, oh man, I can get hosting for $5 a month and have a WordPress website up and online. And then they come around to me and go, oh man, my performance is bad. It's slow. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, you're on shared hosting with 1,000 of your closest people you don't know, but basically you've shoved yourself in an apartment building that's overloaded, and you're all trying to use the elevator at the same time, and it's just not going to work for you.
Here's the last one. Why does my WordPress site say not secure?
Get SSL, dummy.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with WordPress.
Nothing to do with WordPress.
Most of these misconceptions aren't about WordPress at all. And I think the reason that they become WordPress misconceptions is because WordPress is just the gateway to the web. And so WordPress becomes synonymous with website as opposed to it being a separate thing, which I think on one hand is actually, speaks well for WordPress, because they're so closely related that it's like, interchangeable as opposed to thinking of WordPress as something separate from website. So you either basically think that website is all website are the same, or you think only Squarespace hosts website, or you know what you're doing. Those are the three categories that you can be in.
Well, that's it, folks. I want to say thank you very much for all of you for coming and hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Make sure you go on Google and do some searches, because in a couple of years we'll have to come back around here and redo this entire episode and go through all of the other misconceptions of WordPress. Go over to our website over at WPwatercooler.com/subscribe to learn how to subscribe to this content here. We appreciate all that you do for us watching this stuff, and hopefully we're helping you out as well. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Love you, mean it.
Bye.